Like other stringed instruments, bass guitar has to deal with sympathetic vibrations of the strings. So whenever you pluck a note, the other open strings are going to vibrate in sympathy with the harmonic series of the note that you just plucked. Now for other instruments, especially ones like sitar, where it's actually part of the design, this actually will sound really nice, but for bass guitar it sounds like utter crap. So part of your job as a bass player is to shut the bass the hell up. So when I play a C on bass, like on the A string on the 3rd fret, the D, G, and E strings are all going to vibrate in sympathy with that C because D, G, and E are all harmonic nodes of C. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about the Harmonic Series, check the links below. Now, if I'm going to play a C major scale without shutting the D, G, and E strings up, it's going to sound something like this. Now notice all that low end that just sort of muddies everything up. When you're just sort of starting out and you're playing through a crappy practice amplifier, this isn't going to be a big deal, but when you're in the recording studio and compression is added, this sort of ruins the bass sound and just it makes it lose focus. So what do you do about it? Well, there's a bunch of different ways of actually applying muting technique, but for most people it's a combination of what your left hand is doing and what your right hand is doing. First thing is using rest strokes. Whenever you pluck a string and let your finger go through the string and rest on the string above it, that string above it is going to not ring out, which is very useful for us. The other thing we can use is actually a movable anchor in the thumb. So whenever I'm plucking on, say, the A, D, or G strings, my thumb can be on the string maybe 1 or 2 above it, and that's going to also add to the muting. Other people use things like floating thumb technique, where the side of the thumb actually is up against all the strings, but this is typically the most common way of dealing with it. For the left hand, we're going to deal with muting by flattening our fingers. A lot of people like to play with curved fingers because it looks more proper, like a classical guitarist, but classical guitars don't have the same problems because most of their sympathetic vibration actually sounds good, and they don't have to deal with magnetic pickups, which actually amplify it. So whenever I'm playing, say, on the E string, my first finger, maybe my second finger, is flat up against the A, D, and G strings, and those are muted. Now, there are other ways of dealing with sympathetic vibrations, but most people tend to use this left-right hand combo technique. I know Gary Willis has this way of muting with 3 fingers and his thumb with just the right hand. There's other ways, but, you know, there we have it. And it becomes more and more important as you go along in your career, especially when you start recording. Anyway, let me know if there are any other things and topics that you'd like me to discuss. I'm just starting this series, this Adam Neely's bass lesson series. So, yeah, comment, subscribe, etc.